Jacinta, when I met you many years ago, before you were in Parliament, before everyone around Australia knew your name, one of the things you said to me, the motivation of you putting your hand up in public life was to do something for the voiceless Aboriginal women and Aboriginal children, and that the power constraint, the disparity in Aboriginal communities that's so weighted in the favour of men has to change in this country, or there will be no chance for Aboriginal women. You've got brickbats, I know, in the media out of this voice campaign, but you've long copped brickbats inside Aboriginal communities, as your mum has too, an incredibly brave woman, for speaking out on these issues. Why have we not heard the Prime Minister say that his voice will fix this problem and here's how it'll do? Why the lack of detail from the PM?
Well, that's exactly right. Why lack of detail from all the advocates of the voice? I mean, you know, in the last week, they're clutching at straws to suggest that this is all about supporting women. But, you know, anytime we try to bring these issues to surface, when Peter Dutton was in Alice Springs to talk about the sexual abuse of Indigenous children, we get pushback from leading national advocacy bodies for Indigenous children in this country. There has been a silencing, there's been a sweeping under the rug, and it continues on to this day. And certainly the Prime Minister, even when Peter Dutton calls for a Royal Commission into the sexual abuse of Indigenous children, the Prime Minister is not about to launch a Royal Commission. Instead, he's spending $350 million to change our constitution instead of doing immediately what he could to hear the voices of children, Australian children in this country. But because they're Indigenous, we've got to keep our mouths shut. We've got to not portray Indigenous people in any bad light, because apparently that makes people racist, or it encourages racism. So let's just keep the voiceless voiceless. That's what the advocates of the voice do. That's certainly what Labor does. They're not interested in addressing this. You know, Senator Cox the other day suggested on the floor of the Senate that when I bring up issues of my grandmother being abused, that what are we going to do if we hold an inquiry? We're putting these people's lives in danger. We're going to hold in-camera sessions for these people. Well, their voices need to be heard, and if they want to come up and be heard, they should be heard, and we shouldn't be silencing them, because if we silence them, we're allowing this to continue in communities, and it really can't continue.
Yeah, I do find it extraordinary that they want truth-telling going back 2 centuries, but they're not prepared to have truth-telling going back 2 months or 3 months or 4 years about some of the issues you're talking about. I want to know on a personal level what this No campaign, you headlining the No campaign, has meant for you. I saw today that your personal phone number's been leaked. It's been put out online. You've had a barrage of abusive messages. I know you're going to talk to the press club tomorrow. I know you're going to be there front and centre. But give us a sense of this personal toll.
Oh, look, it's massive. It's absolutely huge. And really, the main reason I'm doing this is for those vulnerable people who continue to be shut down, sidelined and ignored. They're the reason. They are who is driving me, who have always driven me, who drove me to put my hand up to be in the Senate. It's why I carry the target around on my back, is because they need me to, because if I don't, well, who else is going to? You know, people might be scared that they might be called racist. Well, you know, I'm copping death threats. I've had a barrage of really horrible messages today calling me a cunt, a B word, and all kinds of stuff left on my phone. But it says more about who they are, not me. I'm going to keep going because there's little kids that need me to keep going. And this Prime Minister, you know, he can take all the responsibility in the world for the division that's going on in our country right now, for the fact that he continues to ignore the voices of these women. And Sharon Long is one of those women who features in the documentary. I brought her to Parliament. Do you think a single member of the government have wanted to stop and listen to her story, or the story of her cousin who was found dead hanging from a baobab tree in a community? No, They don't want to hear from her. They couldn't give her, you know, a second of day. Not the Teals, not Senator David Pocock, none of them. None of the virtue signallers in Parliament House will give her the time of day. Well, I'm here to make sure those voices are heard, and I'll continue doing that with the barrage of abuse that I get.
Look, you know, I think you're extraordinary. My audience, though, think you're extraordinary. And I think Australians, I mean, you've only been in this job on the front bench for a matter of months. I think Australians think you're extraordinary. Jacinta Price, good luck tomorrow at the Press Club. It's a bear pit down there, but I'm sure you'll acquit yourself well. Thank you for your time.